Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Get Ready with Apple. Whoever has been following the series of Get Ready with Apple, I totally forgot. Good morning, Linda. I totally forgot to put myself on Do Not Disturb. So I had to restart it because I don't want the calls to start coming in. Mira este pelo. Look at this hair. I put on this long sleeve because it gets cold in here. And I stood here for 2 seconds in the kitchen with this light and I started sweating. Zash. Woo! How's everybody's morning doing? Good morning. This is Get Ready with Apple, where age is just a number. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody's Wednesday? You know what I like about Thursdays? I have my mental therapy today. I get to speak to my therapist and I'm so happy. You know, today we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to do Thursdays. I decided that Thursdays we're going to do, emotional intelligence. We're going to read a book. And on Thursdays, every Thursday, we're going to read a chapter of a book, right? Today, I'm going to just read the introduction of the book called Emotional Intelligence. Emotional Intelligence, right? And it's Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and it's written by Travis Bradberry and Jean Greaves. Emotional Intelligence. I have it on audio, so I've read the whole thing on audio, but I bought the book because I don't know, for one reason or the other, I like to highlight my books. I'm on the second chapter, so I'm gonna stop reading until I catch up with you guys, right? So I'm gonna read really quick. The forward is only 2 pages, really quick, and then we're gonna discuss. Okay, it says forward. It says, not education, not experience, not knowledge, or intellectual horsepower. None of these serve as an adequate predictor as to why one person succeeds and another doesn't. There is something else going on that society doesn't seem to account for. We see examples of this every day in our workplace, our homes, our churches, our schools, our neighborhoods. We observe supposedly brilliant and well-educated people struggle, while others with fewer obvious skills or attributes flourish. And we ask ourselves why. The answer almost always has to do with this concept called emotional intelligence. And while it is harder to identify and measure than IQ or experience, and certainly difficult to capture on a resume, its power cannot be denied. And by now, it's not exactly a secret. People have been talking about emotional intelligence for a while, but somehow they haven't been able to harness its power. After all, as a society, we continue to focus most of our self-improvement energy in the pursuit of knowledge, experience, intelligence, and education. This would be fine if we could honestly say we had a full understanding of our emotions, not to mention the emotions of others, and understanding of how our emotions influence our lives so fundamentally every day. I think the reason for this gap between the popularity of emotional intelligence as a concept and its application in society is twofold. First, people just don't understand it. They often mistake emotional intelligence for a form of charisma or gregariousness. Second, they don't see it as something that can be improved. Either you have it or you don't. And that's why it's this is such a helpful book. By understanding what emotional intelligence really is and how we can manage it in our lives, we can begin to leverage all of that intelligence, education, and experience we've been sorting up for all these years. Sorry. So whether you've been wondering about emotional intelligence for years or know nothing about it, this book can drastically change the way you think about success. You might want to read it twice. That's interesting, right? That's interesting. So emotional intelligence, as far as I am concerned, it has a lot to do with the processing of your thoughts. Does it make sense? It's like, in this book, it explains to you, right, how you could increase your emotional intelligence, how you could understand other people's emotions, right? Because most of the time, when we have an emotion, I don't know if this has happened to you, it has happened to me with my husband many times, where he gets quiet all of a sudden and he doesn't want to talk, right? And it took me many years to understand something is bothering him, but not necessarily has to be with me. So in the past, I used to get all like, he's mad at me, and what did I do? And oh my God. And reading books and understanding other people's feelings and understanding other people's way of reacting. And, sometimes I just sit down and hold his hand. And that's all it takes for him to tell me I miss my mother, or, I have a lot of work, or, something other than that's me. It's not me, right? But a lot of us create this atmosphere around emotions that it creates a problem. I don't know if I'm making myself understand. Do you understand me in that? It's like when you have an emotional intelligence, when you have an emotion that you don't understand it, right? You don't understand it, but at the same time, you're fighting it because you don't understand it, right? So this book is going to walk us through us. He says also, the warm California, this is his journey. And he says, the warm California sun greeted Butch Connor as he stepped out of his truck and onto the sands of Salmon Creek Beach. It was the first day of a long holiday weekend and a perfect morning to grab his board and head out for a surf. Most of the other local surfers had the same idea that morning, and after 30 minutes or so, Butch decided to leave the crowd behind. He penetrated the water surface with long, deep strokes that propelled him away from the pack and over a stretch of beach where he could catch a few waves away from the crowd. Once Butch had paddled a good 40 yards away from the other surfers, he sat up on his board and bobbed up and down in the rolling swells while he waited for a wave that caught his fancy. A beautiful teal wave began to crest as it approached the shoreline, and as Butch lay down on his board to catch the wave, a loud splash behind him stole his attention. Butch glanced over his right shoulder and froze in horror at the sight of a 14-inch gray dorsal fin cutting through the water toward him. Butch's muscles locked up, and he lay there in panic, gasping for air. He became hyper-focused on his surroundings. He could hear his heart pounding as he watched the sun glistening on the fin's moist surface. Can somebody tell me an experience that you have had where your muscles locked up or you lay there in panic? I remember when I was having my heart attack at 37. It was scary. It was scary. Like, I just lay there and I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. And you see all the doctors, okay, now we have to do this and we have to do that. And let's get the electro machine and da-da-da-da-da. And you're just laying there in panic mode. Que Dios me lo bendiga. God bless you. We are reading Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradberry and Jean Greaves. So what we're going to do is every Thursday we're going to read a couple of pages of the book and discuss it. And you guys are welcome to get the book, or if you're replaying this and you have the book, join in the book reading. I like interactions. If you're watching this live, tell me where you're watching it from. Send me a yellow heart. Love yellow hearts. If you're replaying this, please comment number 2. Follow, share, and comment. This is Get Ready with Abu. Today is episode 10 out of 30. And today, on Thursdays, we're going to be reading a book or something from a book, or we'll finish this book if we can. And today, we're reading Emotional Intelligence. So then he goes, yeah, it's scary, right? So this is what happened to this guy. He was catching a wave and he got on a perfect wave, but then he heard a splash. And when he looked back, it was a whale. It was a shark, like a 14-inch shark. So he froze, right? Let's read another page, and then, because I don't want this to be a long. He became hyper-focused on his surroundings. He could hear his heart pounding as he watched the sun glistening on the fin's moist surface. The approaching wave stood tall to reveal Birch's worst nightmare. In the shimmering, translucent surface, a massive great white shark that stretched 14 feet from nose to tail. Paralyzed by the fear coursing through his veins, Butch let the wave roll past, and with a speedy ride to the safety of the shoreline, it was just the shark and him now. It swam in a semicircle and approached him head on. The shark drifted in slowly along his left side, and he was too transfixed by the proximity of the massive fish to notice his left leg dangling perilously off his softboard in the frigid salt water. And it says, yeah, I mean, this is scary, right? It's as big around as my Volkswagen, Butch thought. As the dorsal fin approached, he felt sudden urge to reach out and touch the shark. It's going to kill me anyway. Why shouldn't I touch it? The shark didn't give him a chance. The shark, with a massive chomp of his jaws, thrust his head upward from underneath Birch's leg. Birch's leg stayed on top of the shark's rising, boulder-sized head and out of his carnivorous mouth, and he fell off the opposite side of his softboard into the murky water. Birch, splashing into the water, sent the shark into a spastic frenzy. The shark waved his head about I know. Ya empecé. My first language is Spanish, people. Butch, splashing into the water, sent the shark into a spastic frenzy. The shark waved its head about maniacally while snapping its jaws open and shut. The great white struck nothing. It blasted water in all directions. It is trashed about. The irony of floating alongside a 3,000-pound killing machine without so much as a scratch was not lost on Butch. Neither was the grave reality that this apex predator was unlikely to miss again. Thoughts of escape and survival flooded Butch's mind as quickly and completely as terror had it in the moments prior. The shark stopped snapping and swam around Butch in tight circles. Instead of climbing back on his softboard, Butch floated on his belly with his arms draped over the board. He rotated the softboard as the shark circled, using the softboard as a makeshift barrier between himself and the man-eater. Butch's fear morphed into anger as he waved for the beast to strike. Okay, we're going to read a little bit more and then we're going to dissect. The shark came at him and Butch decided it was time to put a fight. He aimed the sharp pointed nose on his softboard at the shark as it approached. When he raised its head out of the water to bite, Butch jammed the nose of the board into the shark's slotted gills. This blow sent the shark into another bout of nervous thrashing. Butch climbed on top of his board and yelled, "Shark!" at the pack of surfers down the beach. Butch's warning and the sight of the turbulent cauldron of white water around him sent the surfers racing for dry land. Butch also paddled towards safety, but the shark stopped him dead in his tracks after just a few strokes. It surfaced in his path to the shoreline and then began circling him once more. Butch came to the dire conclusion that his evasive tactics were merely delaying the inevitable, and a paralyzing fear took hold of him yet again. Butch lay there trembling on his surfboard while the shark circled. He mustered the will to keep the tip of his board pointed in the shark's direction, but he was too terror-stricken to get back in the water and use his board as a barrier. Butch's thoughts raced between terror and sadness. He wondered what his 3 children were going to do without him, and how long his girlfriend would take to move on with her life. He wanted to live. He wanted to escape this monster, and he needed to calm down if that was ever going to happen. Butch convinced himself that the shark could sense his fear like a rabid dog. He decided that the most must get a hold of himself because it was fear that was motivating the shark to strike. To Butch's surprise, his body listened. The trembling subsided, and the blood returned to his arms and legs. He felt strong. He was ready to paddle, and paddle Butch did. Straight for the shoreline, a healthy rip current ensured that his journey to shore was nerve-rattling 5 minutes of paddling, like mad, with the sense that the shark was somewhere behind him and could strike at any moment. When Butch made it to the beach, an awestruck group of surfers and other beachgoers were waiting for him. The surfers thanked him profusely for the warning and patted him on the back. For Butch Connor, standing on dry land had never felt so good. Can you imagine if you're swimming at the beach and a shark comes after you? What would you do? What would you do? But in here, it explains. I'm going to start doing my tea. Okay, so we stopped at page 5. So it's going to be a little bit of a long reading. Probably we could do a Sunday reading too. Okay, Sundays we could do like a book club. What do you guys think? You guys haven't sent me messages. You guys need to send me messages. Send me ideas. I have 20 more days of these lives that I need to do. So send me ideas. Let's go back to the story. Let's dissect the story a little bit, right? Okay. So he was in the ocean. He got away from the crowd to get a good wave. You know, surfers. And when he catches a good wave, he sees a shark. What would you do if you're swimming and you see a shark behind you? I would panic the shit out of myself. I would like, no, it's coming for me. But what did he do at the end of the story? Who can tell me what did he do at the end of the story? At the end of that little snippet, right? He thought of his biggest whys. In life, we have a reason for living, a reason for working, a reason for making money, a reason why we wake up every morning. Find your why. That's what changed his mindset inside that water. He lay there and he said, oh my God, how are my 3 daughters going to live without me? How long is it going to take my girlfriend to move on with her life? You saw his thoughts? Like, that gave him strength. So I've always told you on these lives that our minds is very powerful, right? I have also told you to get my probiotic from my bag. I have always told you that what you think about, you become about. And this is a prime example that his mind shifted. When his mind shifted, what happened to his body? He got blood in his body. He got movement back on his feet. He wasn't thinking so much about the shark anymore. He took the focus away from the shark and he said, you know, this is do or die. This is do or die, people. Do or die. Do or die, right? And he stood at the beach. What does he say? He says, for Butch Connor, standing on dry land had never felt so good. Can you imagine how he felt when he touched land? Can you imagine? Can you imagine going through, you know, the worst of fear, one of your worst fears, and getting to safety, right? So what is the take today? The take today, again, my people, is that we need to be careful how we think and how we confront our problems, right? Remember, I've always told you that, we need to confront our fears. He confronted his fears right there and then. He was like, first he decided he wanted to fight. Tell me where you're joining from. This is Get Ready with Abu, episode 10 out of 30. Age is just a number, and I'm in here to prove to you that I'm 50, for a 30-year-old corporate America woman, you could start revamping yourself and do things that make you happy. But like I was saying, you have to be careful. You have to be careful what you think about. What are your thoughts, right? What are your thoughts? Because for Bush Connor, in that little episode of the Emotional Intelligence book, it tells you that he was scared. He was frightened, but the first thing was he wanted to fight. He wanted to fight. He wanted to fight his way back to shore. Then he felt defeated. How many of us in life have a problem and we start, okay, so there's a solution. Let me go ahead and fight this with this because I could do this and I could do this, right? And then we feel defeated. He felt defeated. At one point, he said, I can't do this. But then what got him to go to shore? His biggest why. So today, I want you to sit down, right? And tomorrow on Get Ready with Abu, I want you to tell me, what is your biggest why? What is your biggest why? Don't tell me today. I want to know tomorrow morning, what is your biggest why? What are you waking up for? Apart from yourself, but what are you waking up for? What do you look forward to every single day? And if you don't have one, my people, it's time to have a little bit of soul searching, because sometimes we go through life not stopping to know what your why is. Okay? Anyway, so this was Get Ready with Abu. We're going to be doing Thursday readings, and today we read a little bit of Emotional Intelligence 2.0 written by Travis Bradberry and Jean Graves. And it is my pleasure to be doing these lives every morning. This is episode 10 out of 30. I will be saving it. So whoever was here, thank you for the yellow hearts. And whoever's replaying this, please go ahead and comment number 2. And I will be more than happy to reach out and say hi. Again, this episode today was of a book, Tackling Emotional Intelligence. We heard about a man that went swimming and had a affair with a 14-inch white shark and was able to come back to shore. But the process of him seeing the shark, fighting the shark, then giving up, and then thinking about his why and getting to dry land is the part of emotional intelligence that the book is trying to convey to you. So again, this is Maria Torres, M Coach Let's Go. This is Get Ready with Abu. It's episode 10 out of 30. It is my pleasure to come in here and tell you that age is just a number. Go for your dreams. Make sure you go ahead and write to me tomorrow morning. Join tomorrow morning from 7:30 to 7:45 and tell me what your biggest why is. We all have a why. What is yours? I know what mine is. We'll share tomorrow. Have a beautiful Thursday. God bless. Love you. Bye-bye. Share, follow. If you haven't followed, follow me. And share and like and comment. Bye.